Good morning, everyone. Your morning weather briefing for this Tuesday, May 8th, finds that there are some changes in the forecast this morning, with generally speaking things going wetter for both the Corn Belt and also for the hard red winter wheat belt in the second week of the 2 week forecast. In the near term, the Corn Belt is still looking for a couple of weather systems for today through the end of the week that will be producing eventual significant and heavy amounts, especially in northern portions of the region. And then, like I said, some additional rainfall chances in today's forecast longer term as well. It is still not a wet forecast for the mid-south and southeast for at least the next 10 days, and especially through the weekend when a lot of that area is going to be getting nothing. Still looks like minimal rains with quite a bit of heat in the hard red winter wheat belt for today through the weekend, but again, longer-term forecast has gone wetter this morning. A lot of details to be worked out, but some rainfall in the winter wheat areas of the southern plains possible for both the 6 to 10 and 11 to 15 day periods. Will be a couple of periods of rain from the northern plains for the rest of this week with some nice amounts, especially for central and southern portions of that region. Temperature and rainfall forecast this morning. Again, you can see how my 6 to 10 and 11 to 15 day rainfall forecasts have gone wetter this morning. Normal to above normal rainfall in the Corn Belt for the 6 to 10 day period, with normal amounts of rainfall for the southern plains, and then a very large and extensive area of above normal rainfall for the 11 to 15 day period. I mentioned in yesterday's video that if my 11 to 15 day rainfall forecast yesterday was wrong, it was that it was too dry, and indeed that is the case, as I have gone from normal to mostly above normal rainfall in today's 11 to 15 day forecast there, as you can see. QPF discussion for the 1 to 5 day time frame. No major disagreements with this forecast. Some of the rain that is shown there for the northern half of the plains and into the Corn Belt will occur for today through Thursday, but your bigger amounts are going to be occurring for Friday and Saturday, and I certainly have no disagreement with the likelihood that the biggest rains are going to be in the Iowa-Minnesota border area and nearby places. In the day 6 to 7 day period, this is where we see the forecast start to be trending a little bit wetter. Look for most of this rain to be falling on Monday, and I think that it is overdone with regards to rainfall in the Corn Belt, but I do not have any disagreement with the range shown there in the hard red winter wheat belt, and again, the bulk of that rainfall would be on Monday. High temperatures yesterday, another warm day in the western Corn Belt and into a big portion of the plain states, with high temperatures there running 10 to 20 degrees and locally more than that above normal. Notable in the southern plains with a very extensive area of 90 plus degree readings, and we even saw a 100 degree reading there on an isolated basis right near the Oklahoma and Texas border. Rainfall over the last 24 hours pretty insignificant across the middle of the country, but we are starting to see some rains developing in northwestern portions of the Corn Belt into the northern plains. If you can kind of look through all of the ground clutter that is on the radar this morning, you can see that there are some pretty decent rains this morning, again in eastern portions of the northern plains and into especially far northwestern portions of the Corn Belt. With regards to my national crop progress report expectations for next Monday's report, I would be at 55 to 56% done as of May 13th. That is slightly higher than what I had in my outlook from yesterday. Around 50% done as of May 13th on the spring wheat number. That is well down from what I had in my report expectations from yesterday. As far as the forecast is concerned, again, not a lot of changes in the near term with regards to a couple of rain systems going to be impacting the Corn Belt and the northern plains. The first is occurring right now with some rain in the far northwestern Corn Belt, and this is the look of the system by late tomorrow. You can see that it is mainly just an upper level system, upper level trough of low pressure moving through the middle of the country at that time, and you can see the rains that upper level system is breaking out in the Corn Belt for late tomorrow. Again, not a real major system, quarter to 3/4 inch rains in the Corn Belt, your best amounts in northwestern portions of the region. A second system then moving through for late this week, for especially Thursday night through a portion of Saturday, and you can see that on the weather maps there as well. Trough of low pressure pulling through. Still a situation that the weather system is going to be having a lot more dynamics with it than the first one. Low pressure in western Kansas, dry line extending southward from there, and then kind of an east-west oriented frontal boundary across northern portions of the Corn Corn Belt. So again, in the near term, not a whole lot of changes in the forecast. Still looking at some good amounts of rainfall for the Corn Belt and into some portion of the northern plains. Biggest rains in northern portion of the Corn Belt versus the south. Still a situation where the hard red winter wheat belt and the mid-south looking at minimal amounts of rainfall for at least the rest of this week and probably into Sunday as well. You can see though on that upper level map, upper level 500 millibar height anomaly map on the left-hand side of the slide, that there is a lot of energy in western portions of the nation, and that is the big change in today's forecast. What we saw in forecast from the last couple of days is that when this system for late this week was going to be moving through, it was going to be bundling all of its energy together and moving through as one piece. Now we're seeing a situation though where the models are leaving back a lot more energy in southwestern portions of the nation, and as that energy moves eastward into the middle of next week, that is where the forecast has turned a lot wetter. What I'm showing here is surface features from the European model on the left, GFS model on the right from late in the day on Wednesday, and you can see that at that time the models are breaking out fairly extensive rainfall across a sizable portion of the middle of the country. You can notice the obvious differences between the two models in their rainfall placement, so there are still a lot of forecast details to work out, but clearly the forecast has gone wetter in the 6 to 10 day period with some rainfall possible in the hard red winter wheat belt by the time we get to Tuesday, by the time we get to Monday, I should say, with some rainfall chances largely on any day after that for the rest of the 6 to 10 day period. Rainfall returning to the Corn Belt by as early as Tuesday as well, and rainfall chances there also for Wednesday and Thursday. This is the 5-day rainfall outlooks from the various models, and again, no real changes in the forecast for that time frame. You can see that for the southern plains winter wheat areas and for the mid-south and southeast, still looking at minimal amounts of rainfall from the two rain systems that are going to be impacting the middle of the country for the next 5 to 6 days, while further north some much bigger rain is going to be seen. And again, as I've been noting the last couple of days, it still looks like that Iowa-Minnesota border area is going to be the focal point for the very biggest rains from the next two rain systems impacting the middle of the country. It is the 6 to 10 day period where things have turned a lot wetter. Again, you can see a lot of details to be worked out, some differences in the exact placement of the rainfall from the various models, but again, you can see pretty obviously that the forecast for the 6 to 10 day time frame has gone wetter today for a bigger portion of the middle of the country. Again, the emphasis is on details still to be worked out, but especially for the Corn Belt, the forecast has gone a lot wetter, and even for the hard red winter wheat belt, especially in the east, but still some rain in the west as well. The forecast is clearly wetter today in the 6 to 10 day time frame. You can also say that about the 11 to 15 day period as well. Model agreement is good today on a wetter trend to that forecast as well. A big reason why the models are much more emphatic on a trough of low pressure moving through the Corn Belt in that time frame. This is as of late in the day on May 19th, and you can see that the European model on the top and to some degree the GFS model on the bottom are suggesting a fairly decent trough of low pressure impacting the nation's midsection at that time frame. So again, 11 to 15 day period like the 6 to 10 day time frame is definitely trending wetter today for both the Corn Belt and the hard red winter wheat belt. Temperature-wise, as I've mentioned the last couple of days, going to be seeing a big temperature contrast developing across the middle of the country for late this week. Still a lot of heat in the near term for today through Thursday, and especially the southern plains with 90-plus degree temperatures on any day in that time frame, and isolated spots getting to 100. Then probably a better chance for more widespread coverage of 100-degree temperatures in the hard red belt for Friday and in some areas also on Saturday. But it is also on Friday and Saturday when we're going to be seeing a major temperature contrast developing, and that's a key reason why the rainfall amounts at that time will be bigger. Notice on Friday from the European models high temperature forecast there shown on the left, some areas of 40s for highs in Michigan and also into Wisconsin, but not far south of their highs well above the 85-degree mark. On Saturday, note your 50s and 60s for highs in northern and northwestern portions of the Corn Belt, not far southeast of their highs in the 90s and even above 100 degrees in southwestern and eastern portions of the hard red winter wheat belt. Longer term temperatures, it remains a situation like it was last week where my forecast on longer term is not cool by any stretch of the imagination, but I am still leaning towards cooler model solutions, and that would be the cooler model solution, again represented today by the European ensemble on the bottom. It's not that different from what the Canadian model is showing right now in the middle of the 11 to 15 day period, while at the same time a GFS ensemble would still have a much warmer solution, and again it is that GFS ensemble that I am disregarding at this time. Internationally, in Brazil, no major changes, a situation where we are still looking at extensive below normal rainfall for the next 2 weeks in the Safrinha corn areas of Brazil. Driest area is going to be eastern Mato Grosso into Goiás and nearby areas. Still looking at some eventual rains in the south across Paraná and Mato Grosso do Sul. Some of that rainfall will be starting as early as Friday. The best rains that are shown there are not going to be arriving though until the 11 to 15 day period. In Argentina, more heavy rainfall for another 3 days before Argentina really dries out starting on Thursday. In Europe and the former Soviet Union, I think that the forecast there is trending a little bit wetter as well. Really not much rain for either Europe or the former Soviet Union for at least the next 4 to 5 days, or possibly even a little bit longer than that, but you can see that some rain is going to be falling for especially the 6 to 10 day period across a decent portion of Europe, probably Germany southward into Italy and the western portions of the Balkans, seeing your best rains with respect to normal in that period. You can also see that the forecast for the former Soviet Union is trending a little bit wetter as well. The bulk of that rainfall in the 6 to 10 day period. A lot of details to be worked out, but I do believe that for the 6 to 10 and possibly even the 11 to 15 day periods, we could be seeing near normal rainfall in a big portion of the winter grain areas of the former Soviet Union. Finally, for this morning in Australia, still a decidedly dry forecast for most of the winter wheat areas of Australia for the next 2 weeks, with below normal rainfall being quite widespread in nature. Any rain that is going to be falling for the next 2 weeks, probably for tomorrow through about Wednesday in southeastern portion of New South Wales and into Victoria. In general, I would call that part of the forecast as a little bit drier than yesterday, with less coverage of half to 1 inch rains for the Wednesday through Friday timeframe of this week versus what I presented in my forecast from yesterday. That's what I have for this morning. Everyone have themselves a great Tuesday.